If you are starting to feel demotivated, lethargic, and your daily tasks or things that you usually enjoy are starting to exhaust you and you have absolutely no energy for them, then you might be entering a state of burnout. And that is fine because you're watching my video and we are going to talk about how to avoid burnout and how to get out of that state. Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Abby and I make productivity and corporate lifestyle videos. And today we are talking about how to combat burnout and find purpose in everyday life. I was so excited to make this video all week on the way to work. I've been planning it and thinking of all the things I could say because I feel like this is just such a relevant one, particularly at this time of year. This is something I'm experiencing at the moment, which is why I wanted to talk about it. And particularly as well for you guys, the majority of my audience is students or people living a corporate lifestyle, and they are areas of life where you can often find yourself in a state of burnout. And so yeah, it's really excited to make this video. So let's get started. Life can be very repetitive and very monotonous. Is it monotonous or monotonous? Monotonous, not really sure. Same thing day in and day out. You wake up, you go to work, you come home, you make dinner, you go to sleep, you repeat 5 days a week, and then it gets to the weekend, you do a few nice things, and then it gets to Sunday, and then you get ready for work on Monday and you do it all over again. And this repetitive lifestyle can start to grate away at you and just make you feel lethargic, exhausted, and burnt out. And that's the same with studying or leading up to exams. And so if you are starting to feel demotivated, lethargic, and your daily tasks or things that you usually enjoy are starting to exhaust you and you have absolutely no energy for them, then you might be entering a state of burnout. And that is fine because you're watching my video and we are going to talk about how to avoid burnout and how to get out of that state. So a little bit of background on me and why I'm excited to talk about this subject. So I have experienced burnout before, and I live a lifestyle, and I think will continue to live a lifestyle for my whole life that is always on the cusp of burnout. So I live a super busy lifestyle. I went to Cambridge University. I studied chemical engineering. It was a super intense degree. It was so difficult. Cambridge itself is so intense, and then the subject on top of that was just super intense. Everything was really intense. And burnout is such a common thing at Cambridge. I'm sure it's a common thing, to be honest, across most universities. I faced burnout at uni and I didn't know how to deal with it, and I really struggled with it. However, I did manage to get out of that state. I ended up leaving uni on a really high note, and I knew that at some point in my life I'm going to feel that way again and I need to know how to handle it. So now in my life I work in management consulting. This comes with longer hours, it comes with quite stressful and intense work. I also then run this YouTube on the side, which again comes with quite a lot of work. It means I work weekends, and so I work quite a lot of the time. So I'm so aware that my lifestyle can lead me to burnout. So I'm really aware of the signs of burnout, when I think I might be burning out, and how to get out of it, because I've been there before. It wasn't very fun and I don't want to be there again, because I want to be successful in life and I want to live a busy lifestyle, and I need to learn how to handle that. So I thought I would make a video because I really do understand the topic. I've experienced the topic, I'm experiencing the topic, and I thought if you are also experiencing burnout too, we can get out of it together using these tips. Well, actually they're not tips, I have a theory. Because I have an actual theory. So first of all, let's talk about what the signs of burnout are so that you know how to acknowledge when you are burnt out, when you are entering a phase of burnout. So physical symptoms, I will put them up on the screen. So physical symptoms are headaches, stomach aches, fatigue, frequent illnesses, or changes in appetite and sleep. And then you get emotional symptoms. This is helplessness, cynicism, often feelings of failure and self-doubt, decreased satisfaction, particularly in everyday tasks, things that you do all the time or things that you used to enjoy, feeling detached or alone, and loss of motivation. And then you can also get some behavioral signs, which are reduced performance in everyday tasks, withdrawal or isolation from people that you usually like to spend time with or things that you usually like to do, procrastination, outbursts, and sometimes using substances to cope. So if any of these resonate with you, then yes, you might be entering a phase of burnout, or you might be in a phase of burnout. How are we going to conquer that? Let's discuss. Now, obviously, I would like to preface by saying I am not a doctor. I have absolutely no qualifications in this. I am genuinely just a 23-year-old girl who's experienced this multiple times and has really, really taken the time to acknowledge what causes her burnout and how to get out of it so that she can live a fulfilled life without being held back by burnout. Okay, so my theory. On the screen, I'm going to put how the internet says that you should overcome burnout. This is if you just go on the internet and say, how to overcome burnout, this is what comes up, okay, these points, and these are very common. You'll often hear people say these, like, oh, you're experiencing burnout, oh, you should do this, and these are things they'll say. So just have a read. I won't read them all out, but it's just like, do exercise, eat better, be creative, take some rest. I'm sure you've heard all these things before. Now, it's not that there's anything wrong with these things, and these things are great. However, when you're in a state of burnout, or when you are entering a state of burnout, when you see these things, read these things, or get told these things, you do not feel like you are able to achieve those things. When you are feeling like your everyday tasks are next to impossible, then looking at these tasks feels like the impossible. You can't even do your daily tasks. You're struggling with those. And then you look at this and you think, oh, now I need to nourish my body. Well, when am I going to go to the shop because I'm exhausted? And what am I going to buy? And I don't even have the brain power to think about that. So these points are great in theory, but they don't feel achievable yet. That's the key word. Yet. We need my theory. So we are going to come back to these points later in the video, but first of all, we're going to discuss the theory that is going to help us out of burnout. Right, you have to bear with me on this, guys, okay? Do try to follow along. I really hope I explain this well, but this theory makes so much sense to me, and I really hope it makes sense to you guys. So we need to picture life as the sea. Life is just the sea. Just accept that. And we're all in the sea. Sometimes the sea is still, sometimes the sea is rough, and sometimes there are waves, sometimes they're big, sometimes they're small. And that is life. Obviously, sometimes life is calm, sometimes you go through rough patches, sometimes there are big waves of horrible events, sometimes there are small waves of things that aren't ideal, and that is life. Life is the sea. Now, you know when you go swimming and you go to like the deep bit of the sea, you can't touch the ground anymore, and you're treading water, and you do it for a minute, and then you get to 2 minutes, and then you get to 3 minutes, and you start thinking, oh my gosh, I'm getting a bit tired now. I think I want to find the shallow end. Entering a state of burnout is entering a state of treading water. You're afloat, your head is above water. You've not given up on everything yet, but you're treading water, okay? If a wave came, you would struggle to stay afloat. If the water got choppy, you would struggle to stay afloat. If someone asked you, oh, do you want to come and play this game in the water? You wouldn't be able to, because you are just staying afloat. You don't have the energy to do anything else but stay afloat. You're treading water. When you find yourself in this state, this is when you need to build a surfboard. Okay, the surfboard thing is very specific. I chose a surfboard for specific reasons. So the end goal of the surfboard is so that you can stay afloat when you're on the calm water, and then when the waves come, you can ride the waves. Now there's two key things I've said here: build and surfboard. Now, the reason I said the word build is because having a surfboard isn't a quick fix, it is a process. You need to build this surfboard. And the reason we said surfboard rather than a nice big luxury boat is because there is only room for you on this surfboard. This is your surfboard, and everybody needs a surfboard, okay? This is your personal surfboard because you're going to build it with the materials that work for you and not for other people, for you. Stay with me, guys. So you're burnt out, you're treading water. You want to get out of the stage of burnout, you need to build a surfboard. How do we build a surfboard? Well, there are 3 steps to build a surfboard. Step number 1 is you need to acknowledge what are the main things that are making you feel burned out. Now, when I say this, I don't mean, oh, going to work is making me feel burned out, or studying all the time is making me feel burned out. It's the key reasons underlying that that's making you feel burned out. You know, some people go to work all the time and they don't feel burned out. So why do you? Some people are studying for exams and they don't feel burned out. So why do you? What are the underlying reasons? So for example, you need to pinpoint the thing that is making you feel burned out. So within work, what is it within work that's making you feel burned out? What is it within your studying that's making you feel burned out? And this is where you really need to tap in to what motivates you, what hinders your progress, what impacts you, what affects you. Now, there is a huge spectrum of things that can make someone feel burned out. I'll give you a few of my examples, but remember that this is different for everybody and also different for yourself in different scenarios. The reasons I feel burned out right now are different to why I felt burned out at uni. So my surfboard will be different this time. I will be building a different surfboard. Okay, so the main reason at the moment that I feel burned out, and I've worked out that it's the feeling of not having control over my own life. I feel like I'm lacking control. And that's a personality trait of mine. I like to have control. I like to be in charge of the things I'm doing. I feel like I wake up in the morning for work, I spend my whole day at work, and I come home and I prepare for work the next day. And I feel like everything in my life is controlled by going to work, and I do not like that, and it just exhausts me, and it makes everything else in my life feel so much more exhausting. And another thing is when I feel like I'm not making progress or I'm not being challenged in my personal life. I like to set myself hard tasks and see if I can do them. And when I can do them, I feel really great. And if I have a period too long where everything is just too calm and too easy, I feel really demotivated and I just start to get into this slump. Everything feels exhausting. We're spiraling again. Okay, so now we've acknowledged what is causing burnout. We need to move to step 2. So step 2 is acknowledging what you can control. Now, I can't control my hours at work or the fact I have to go to work, and I can't control the hours in the day. But what I can control are my mornings, what time I wake up, what I do in the morning before work. I can control the time I spend on my phone. I can control the food I put in my mouth, and I can control the goals that I'm working towards. So now we know the root cause of burnout. We know what we can control relative to that cause. So now we're on to step 3. Okay, so first thing to acknowledge is surfboards are hard to build and they can take a while. They are not a quick fix. So let's get back up on the screen the ways that the internet tells us that we can combat burnout. Now, we acknowledged earlier that these are a great idea. They just feel impossible to implement when you're in a state of burnout. But now we have acknowledged exactly what is causing our burnout and exactly what we control. We can then now use these to build our surfboard. So let's look at the exercise 1. When you first read this, at the start of this video, we were like, well, that sounds like too much effort. How am I going to be able to go and exercise when I can barely make dinner because I'm so exhausted? Now let's go through the steps. Number 1, acknowledge what is making me feel burnt out. Okay, lack of control. Step 2, acknowledging what I can control. Well, I can't control the fact I have to go to work. That's a given. But I can control the time I wake up and I can control my morning before work. Solution, getting up for something that isn't work, controlling my morning. Getting up earlier than I usually would, choosing to do something for me that's nothing to do with work before I even go to work. And what's a great thing to do in this morning? Exercise, because then I will go to work feeling good, feeling more energized and feeling less burnt out. And of course, we said earlier, this feels unachievable, but the reason this now feels achievable is because I know the root cause of my burnout and I know that I want to get above that water. I'm treading water and I want to lie on a surfboard. I want to be able to relax on a sunny day on my surfboard, and when a wave comes, I just want to be able to ride it. It's no longer just a silly suggestion from someone saying, oh, you should exercise. You'll feel really great if you exercise, because that feels impossible. But I know the problem, I know what I want, and I now know how to implement exercise in my life to combat that burnout. Not just, you should randomly exercise at some point because it will make you feel good. Because you do it once, you feel good, you forget about it, you'll go back to burnout. Implementing these great ideas in an achievable manner that you know will actually fix the source of burnout is what is going to build that surfboard. It's going to get you above water and it's going to make you ride the waves. Wow, I should be a poet. I have also acknowledged that I'm treading water, and in order to get onto my surfboard, I do have to build that surfboard. Nobody's going to give me one. No one's selling them. No one's giving me any. I have to build my surfboard. It's my surfboard. I've acknowledged that, which also makes the, okay, I need to exercise, feel more achievable, because as I said, we've got the root cause, we've got what can fix it, and we've got the acknowledgement that I need to put the effort in. So the first component of my surfboard will be exercise, but not random exercise, exercise in the morning to give me back control of my day, to fight that area of burnout. So the next problem I had that was making me feel burnt out was not feeling like I was making progress or being challenged enough in my personal life. Now, this is a bit of a weird one because usually when you hear burnout, you think, oh my gosh, you need to rest up. Like, make sure you get lots of rest, go to sleep. But sometimes burnout is just feeling like you're not achieving. You know, even when you're resting, you don't feel rested. But it's because you're starting to feel like you're not capable of anything. You've not achieved anything. Like, oh, I can't do anything. And so sometimes actually the solution to that is to prove to yourself you can do difficult things. You can get out of bed and go and achieve something great. You don't need to watch somebody else doing it on TikTok. And so my next component of the surfboard is setting myself small challenges that make me feel achieved. And I personally want this to be completely away from work or anything work related. So not to do with YouTube, not to do with my job. So it might be like a really small running goal, a really small creative goal. It could be anything that's not to do with work. And that's just going to remind me that, you know, okay, you're exhausted and everything feels difficult. But if you can do this tiny little thing, this tiny little challenge, and you can achieve it, you've just reminded yourself that you can do tricky things, you can push yourself, you can achieve goals. Remember that, get out of bed, go and do it again. And the final component that will always be in my surfboard will be set periods of rest where I do not do or think about any type of work, whether that work is YouTube, whether that work is my job, anything. No thinking, no working, relaxing. enjoying my time, laughing. If you've watched my study videos, you will know that this is literally my number one tip for productivity and being successful and passing exams, is giving yourself periods to switch your brain off, so that when your brain is switched on, you have all of the brain power and you're ready to go and you've processed everything you needed to process. So this will always be a component of my surfboard, and I think it's a vital piece of a surfboard to be able to get above that water. Okay, so these are the components of my surfboard. In order to combat my burnout and build a surfboard, I need control over my mornings, little challenges to remind me I can achieve things, and periods of pure rest with no guilt. Now, these things will take time, and these things need to be implemented, and I might not be able to just implement them perfectly. It's a slow process. I'm building a surfboard, but as I build this surfboard, I will start to feel above water again. I will get on my surfboard, I can lie in the sun, I won't be treading water, and when the waves come, I'll be able to ride them out. And those are the 3 steps. Acknowledge what is causing your burnout, acknowledge what you can control, and build a surfboard so that when the waves do come, you can ride them out. Now, as I said before, obviously causes of burnout are different for everyone, and ways to combat that burnout are different for everyone. So where I've set myself things like challenges and exercise, you might need rest, you might need time with friends. It's different for everyone. I put on the screen again the list of things that can combat burnout that we looked at earlier, and any of these could help you, but remember, you need to implement them in a way that feels achievable, not just by looking at them and going, oh, I should probably exercise more, because, well, for me anyway, that personally just doesn't feel achievable off the bat. I need to find a way to implement that makes sense to me. I need to build a surfboard. So that is my theory on how to combat burnout and find purpose in everyday life. Let me know if you are experiencing the same things or what you are going to do to build your surfboard, because burnout is not a fun place to be. I've been there before, and when I said, I've gotten out of it before, this is how I came up with my theory, because I've been in situations where I'm like, oh my God, everything just feels impossible. But as soon as I started to implement little things into my day, I started to feel more energized, I started to feel more motivated, and everything I felt in that burnout phase just started to disappear. And I felt myself come out of that burnout phase and ready to face life head on again. So that is why I was speaking about that today. I felt like it's such an important topic, and it's definitely not one that goes ignored. People are very aware of burnout, but I feel like it's one that is just really difficult to get out of. You need to look at multiple ways and find what works for you. But this is what works for me, and I hope it has helped. If you did enjoy this video, please do like and subscribe, and let me know anything you'll be doing to build your surfboard in the comments, and I will see you in my next video.